So, Mark, before we get started, we have to say thank you so much for your generosity and contributions to Rock the Rich Center. Last year, you helped us by donating to our silent auction, and we are thrilled to have you with us again this year. All the proceeds from your donations will go directly to help the Rich Center for Autism. So, thank you so, so much.
You're welcome. I mean, my pleasure. Anytime.
Absolutely. So, for those of you that are watching at home, Mark Weiss is a professional photographer whose name goes hand in hand, is literally synonymous with some of the most iconic shots ever taken during the 80s music scene, the decade that rocked, if you will. Mark has photographed almost all of the iconic bands that you think of when you think of 80s rock music, including Van Halen, Bon Jovi, Poison, After My Own Heart, and of course, Lita Ford, plus so much more. So, Mark, can you tell us all about those experiences in the 80s?
Oh, wow. All of them.
Some of them, maybe for time
Well, you
purposes.
mentioned a few bands, so I can give you a little bit of background on that. So the first time I shot Bon Jovi was actually John Bon Jovi. He was 18 years old. I was shooting Southside Johnny and the Asbury Jukes at Freehold Raceway down the street from my house. I was already like a staff photographer for Circus Magazine, and I figured I'd shoot Southside, and then I'm shooting Southside on the side of the stage, while the rest, which was John's band that he was in at the time, was performing, and Southside goes to me, goes, "You should be shooting that kid up there," and I thought he just wanted to get rid of me. So I said okay, and I took my photo. He was drinking a beer, and then I went and took a roll of film of young John Bon Jovi at the time, and I found out like years later that I didn't even know who it was at the time. But when I did a little research, when I was doing my book, The Decade That Rocked, I put it in my book. Like I found out, like I didn't even know I shot those photos. I found out like right before the deadline on the book. And then fast forward 3 years from that, his first album came out, and I was shooting ZZ Top at Madison Square Garden, and they just won. They won best song on a radio station in Long Island for Runaway. And I didn't know who they were then either, but I knew the song because they were playing on the radio a lot. And then I kind of put two and two together, and I shot a roll of film opening up for ZZ Top. And then fast forward 2 years is when I got a call from Doc McGee, who was managing Motley Crue at the time. And I was on tour with Motley Crue and doing all their pictures. He's like, "I got this band in Jersey that kind of lived by you where you were growing up in Sayreville, and I lived in Old Bridge, which is the next town. And I think you guys will get along. And we got another album coming out. We want you to do the publicity photos." And I said, "Okay, sure." And they came to my studio in New York City, and we became fast friends. And the rest is history. And the next year, when Slippery came out, I did the album cover for Slippery When Wet.
So good.
And that blew up. And then we toured around the world, and I did John's solo projects and kind of, the Moscow Peace Festival with John, and, pretty much did whatever he did, Farm Aid. And, I was the guy. So that's my little Bon Jovi story.
That's incredible. I mean, you were basically at the start of some of these major careers. I can't even imagine not knowing who some of these people were and then seeing how they blew up after the fact.
Yeah, it was fun, but it seemed like I know it didn't happen overnight, but to me, it seemed like it did. It's like, you do a photo shoot with me, you do some videos with some of the big video directors like Wayne Isham and Marty Kollner, and you get some promo, and next thing you know, it's on MTV. They're on the cover of the magazines, and they're selling millions of records. So it's kind of like a formula.
So cool. So cool. So, Mark, we've seen you give your time and resources to numerous charity events. Where does your passion come from for helping those in need and organizations like the Rich Center for Autism?
I don't play favorites. I play favorites to people that ask me, and then I'll do some research on what they're trying to help and their cause, and if it all works out with timing, and I can print some photos and send it to them, why not? It's not a big deal. I do sell my photographs on Morrison Hotel Gallery and on my website, anywhere from $600 to $5,000. I sign them in their editions. So if I can help out a cause that people are passionate about, why not? It's got to be foundation and legitimate. Those are the first things I check out. And then once I know they have the right foundation information, I'll pretty much, and every year I'll donate something like with you guys.
That's a fabulous way of going about it, too. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're donating to Rock the Rich Center this year for our silent auction?
Actually, yeah, I just printed it out. This is the test print.
I'll see you guys are in for a treat. Look at that. Are you kidding
Yeah,
me?
Lita Ford, and this is my first time I shot her in 1983, and this is the big one, 16 by 20. Okay, and I'll sign it. I didn't sign it yet because I just printed it. And this photo actually appeared. I just saw Lita over the weekend. She played at the M3 festival with. She opened up for David Lee Roth and a bunch of other bands.
So good.
Yeah, his first show in like 5 years, and
Hmm.
and so we did a magazine. My girlfriend and I, Mikkel, we have a magazine called Rocked, and we put David on the cover. And
Oh man, back in the heyday too. Look at that.
it's old school, and
So
and we have
good.
two covers. So we have Stephen Pearcy, who headlined on the third night. Sebastian Bach headlined on the first night, and we put a little thing on Lita, so that photo is in the magazine. And part of what we do with Rocked is we kind of grab interviews and quotes from the past, and we put them back in here. So it's interesting on where their mindset was instead of doing a brand new interview. But with Lita, where past is present. So we do a little bit of the past and we talk about the present. And and here's another one of Lita that.
And those are iconic images. Like back in the day, those were everywhere.
So we're doing the pinups, and then we have the centerfold. You ready for this? Sebastian Bach.
And that's like the photo of him too. That's the one that everybody had up on their wall.
That's it. And it's also going to be it's also that photo of Lita is in my book. And then we're going to be also auctioning this off called The Decade That Rocked.
And that's your book, correct?
That's the book. This is 6 pounds, 1 ounce.
Oh, too good.
And it's a big coffee table book. And inside this, you get some goodies. We have another little poster centerfold of Lita. And we're going to throw in one of Vince Neil too, where, on my site where you can, buy a signed copy from me, we will include these in different bundles. And then, oh, wait a minute. Maybe we'll throw in a few photos too in this one bundle thing. We'll have the David Lee Roth photo. We're spicing this up. We have Warren and Steven, who was headlining M3. This is an M3 package, and Sebastian. So I'm going to throw all these in a bundle, and I'm going to sign it right now to whoever is going to get it.
Check it out. We're getting the exclusive
Okay,
too.
here we go.
Mark is signing it live.
There have all the good.
So can you tell us, are there any backstories about any of these prints? Like anything that really stands out in your mind? Look at that. So cool.
Sorry.
You said the Lita photo is one of the first times you actually shot her, correct?
That's right. That's right. It was for Faces magazine. And see, back in the day, there was magazines like Circus and Faces. And Lita was actually on the premiere issue of Faces magazine. And I always wanted to photograph her from because she was in the Runaways, and what photographer wouldn't want to shoot the Runaways? And then when she went solo, I had the opportunity, and Faces was just starting out and everyone wanted to be in the magazines, and we became fast friends. And then, through the decades, we stayed in touch. I kept shooting her. In 2012, she did an album called Living Like a Runaway, and she came into New Jersey to my studio, and we did it on the railroad tracks, and there's some funny stories on that. So she's great. She's amazing. She's in great spirits. She's looks great. She sounds great. She has a great band. I mean, you guys are in for a treat for sure.
Oh, she's so good. We've seen her multiple times around Ohio, and she's just been top tier. Still so good. You've worked with Lita extensively. She's even mentioned you as one of her favorite photographers multiple times. What does that mean to you, having that relationship with her?
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, we've both been doing this for so long, and it's great to, I always say when I photograph someone or a band, it's like having 4 or 5 new friends. And I take pride in keeping those relationships going, whether they're still playing clubs or arenas or stadiums. We all like kind of grew up together. It was like kind of like a high school. And every time we go like at these festivals and like the Monsters of Rock cruise that I was at, it's like a high school reunion, and it's fun. Even for the people in the audience, it's like a high school reunion because we're all cut from the same cloth. And music is so different today, and my generation and a little younger that were like 14 and 15 when I was like 21 and 22, were listening to Twisted Sister and Poison and all those bands. uh you know they were it was just a special generation, and it's like that generation just never grew up, and they're young at heart, and you see them at the concerts, and they're just something about that decade. It was the MTV videos that made these rock stars larger than life, like superheroes, and to kids that are 13 and 14 and 15, they just resonated, and it just stuck in their mind, and they're still playing these clubs and theaters and arenas and stadiums. I mean, it's amazing.
It was definitely all about having fun during that era of rock music. And I feel like a lot of people are gravitating toward that now. Like classic rock, 80s rock is making such a big comeback. And it's just so fun to go to these concerts. And you really do, not to steal a line from Poison, have nothing but a good time.
That's true. Well said.
So, obligatory question for you. Have you, through any of your travels, ever made your way to or through Youngstown, Ohio?
I'd have to plead the fifth because I don't know. Whenever I jumped on tour buses, like from with Rat to Ozzy to Motley, and I never knew where it was. Anytown, USA. I mean, I wish I had a map diary and I like X'd it off or something, but I never did that. So chances, it does sound familiar, but I can't like tell you what the deli was back then.
Well, we have a really great concert coming up on May 31st with Lita Ford if you want to make your way through
So where,
Youngstown.
so how long has that place been up for? Is it a new venue?
So the Youngstown Foundation Amphitheater has been up probably 3 years or so. It's like a nice outdoor amphitheater right in
Oh,
the
wow.
heart of the city. And it's perfect for something like this. It is going to be a treat for everybody with the rock vibe and Lita. And then we have the
Yeah.
Vindies opening for her, which are a fantastic local band. It's just going to be
I I saw
insane.
I saw the Vindies opening up for Pat Benatar and
Yes.
out at the Count Basie, and I was like, at first it was the lighting was kind of dark, and I didn't think they had an opener, and so I thought it was Pat Benatar band, and then this girl comes out. I'm like, oh, she's pretty,
She got
like.
pipes.
Yeah, no, no. When she came out and she was
Mhm.
just, wearing like kind of like fishnetty
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
It wouldn't. It was like out of character for Pat, and I was like, "That's not Pat." And then she turned around and it wasn't. But this girl like had such presence, and I
hmm
actually introduced myself. I was really impressed, and I shot the show. It was a great show. They're
Oh wow, that's
amazing.
fantastic. Yeah, so the venues are opening for Lita, and that's like our ticket. So that's gonna be it's gonna be so good. Female rock power. I love it.
Yeah,
It's gonna be
yeah.
good. So I have to ask you about Alice Cooper. You are a big Alice Cooper guy. He actually has a day dedicated to him here in Youngstown because we love him so much. So tell me about your relationship with him, and you've even done some of his songs, right?
Right, right. So in 1977, I was still sneaking my camera. Backstory to the listeners that don't really know my backstory. I was 12 years old and I was mowing lawns, and this one guy had a really high lawn, and I knocked on his door. I said, "Do you need your lawn mowed?" And he's like, "No, no, kid, I do it myself." And I said, "It doesn't look that way." And he kind of smirked, and he came back with this camera. He said, "I'll tell you what, kid, if you mow my lawn for the season, I'll give you this camera, this 35 millimeter camera, which I have like hanging right over there still." And I said, okay. I figured I would just like pawn it, after the summer for a couple $100. Anyway, I didn't. It stood there in my room, And I started taking pictures the next year of like people, my brother and all that. And then I started going to concerts, and then I kind of got the bug. And then I started selling my pictures in front of the concerts and out of my high school locker for $1 a piece. And Alice was one of them. I shot him at Nassau Coliseum, and I got arrested for selling my pictures at a Kiss concert. And then I went to Circus Magazine the next day. And then within a year, I was their staff photographer. But that's my story of being a rock photographer. But as far as Alice Cooper goes, when I saw Alice and Kiss, to me, like theatric rock, I mean, it was just amazing. For like something about that resonated, and then through the years, when I became, Mark Weiss, the photographer for Circus Magazine, I was getting a lot of respect, and management and publicists would call me, and now I'm doing photo shoots with Alice Cooper and Kiss and everyone. And Alice in particular, I mean, I love his songs. I mean, they're so catchy and they're so rock, and the theatrics is amazing. And so through the decades, I would dress up like Alice because we have the same structure, same kind of hair, and I would make a good Alice. But then maybe like when the release of my book, The Decade That Rocked, we did a show where I was dressed up like Alice, and we did a live stream. It was COVID time. It was like right when my book was released, right when COVID came out. It couldn't have been a worse time. So we did this streaming at this museum, Monmouth Museum, and I had all these people call in, and I would be dressed like Alice, like talking to them. And then at the end of that, we had a concert with my friend Keith Roth, who's the singer in the Dictators now and on Sirius XM. Mm-hmm. And he got a band together. We called Keith Roth and the Ghouls. And then they brought me out, and I was like Alice Cooper. I did this whole thing where I was photographing Alice, like we did a double take. It's on my YouTube channel, and The Decade That Rocked. And it's pretty entertaining. It's like me shooting myself as Alice Cooper, talking to myself, and then going in to this makeshift dark room, and then drinking this potion, and then turning into Alice Cooper, and then singing with Keith Roth and the Ghouls, and it was pretty cool. And then a couple of years ago on Halloween, my friend Charlie Reese, who has the X5 podcast, invited me down to be Alice Cooper with a friend's band, and I played Alice in front of thousands of people, and that's online too. So it was fun. I was a little nervous, but I pulled it off.
I love that. I love listening to Keith Roth on Hair Nation every day driving to work. So like as soon as you said his name, I was like, because I just have his voice embedded in my head.
Yeah.
So we were talking over email about Rocked Magazine. You are really on the forefront of trying to bring back like the centerfold, people putting these iconic images on their walls. Can you talk about that a little bit more?
Well, yeah. So, I mean, my book, The Decade of the Rock, it took me like over 5 years to produce. I went through writers and designers, and it finally came out, and it was great. It's very successful, still selling, but it's been 5 years in June, and I kind of I want to do another book, but I'm like not ready for the commitment yet. But to do a kind of like a quick fix is like a magazine where it's like, you can pull it off. And my girlfriend, Mikkel, I wouldn't be able to do this without her because she's designed this whole thing. So I had to kind of talk her into it. And we did one a couple of years ago for the Monsters of Rock cruise where we had all the bands, and we did all the, we put all the bands on it. You see, so every band that's in here and in the magazine, and all the pinups was on the cruise, and we sold them on the cruise along with my book. But it's a little lighter to handle, and it's not as pricey as my book. So it kind of worked. And then we did it again a few months ago, and we sold out and did good. And then when the M3 came out, I figured, all right, let's do another one with David Lee Roth and some of the people that are on that. So we want to turn it into a monthly would be awesome, but we don't want to bite off too much that we can't chew right now. So we're going to probably do a bi-month, like every 2 months, or 3 months, or maybe 4 times a year. But we really need to, for the funding, we need like a Kickstarter to do it. But with that, they're going to get their money's worth because they're going to get the other magazines that we already have. It's not like you're gonna have to wait for anything. Mm-hmm. You'll have something. Plus, I'll have my photos like you just saw in different tiers, and my book also signed and even do like a cameo with me if any photographer, because I'm mentoring other young photographers to pass on, so that in 20 years when I'm 85 and I can't hold my cameras anymore, they'll carry on the torch with whether it's new bands that inspire them. So I'm just trying to do something where this decade isn't forgotten. And I feel like these magazines and the pinups and a lot of these shows, like when I went to M3, were a lot of young people, a lot of young, dedicated people that want to help, that are journalists and are photographers. So I just want to be a little catalyst to help their careers out if that's what they want to do. And have some fun, not running around lugging my cameras around and just sitting back, in retirement, and I could kind of guide them through to see where they go. So to me, that will be interesting to me when I'm 80 or 90 or however long I make it. You know what I mean? So.
Well, before we leave you, is there anything else that you want to add either about Rock the Rich Center, your photos, Rocked, or anything you have going on personally in your career?
Well, I'm working on a screenplay. I don't know where it's going to go, but it's just something I've been wanting to do, and I just started it. It's kind of like a little bit of like Wonder Years meets Almost Famous, and it tells my story, and there's some drama in it too, and a little bit of poetic license for some juicy parts. So that's kind of, I'm having fun with that, and just branding and doing gallery shows. I have a gallery with, I'm involved with Wentworth Gallery. Actually, I just found out yesterday that I have, I did all the Twisted Sister album covers, or the Stay Hungry with the Bone, and also the Come Out and Play. And the Come Out and Play is a manhole, and Dee came out of it, out of the manhole. And I have the manhole, and I have the street, and I have all we wrapped him up like a mummy, and we had the fingernails. So I have all that in the artwork because I art directed it as well. And it's been sitting at the Hard Rock in Florida in their memorabilia department. And I just got a call from the director over there, and he said, because they want to put it in the Vegas one, and that's not going to be open for a couple of years. And he just told me that there's going to be at the Grammy Museum in Mississippi. They're doing. They might want to feature it. So fingers crossed. There might be some exhibition of the manhole and some other things. So it's coming up on the 40th anniversary in October of Come Out and Play. So and then I'm going to be doing another book, which will be a kind of more, it's similar to the Decade That Rocked, but it's going to be more about the hair era, when the bands had the highest hair. So it's the Decade That Rocked is more about my story and how I did the shoots and my relationships, and this one will be more about the hair. So that's
which was
exciting.
Also a big part of it, and still so fun.
Yeah. And and the Kickstarter, if you go to Rocked Mag, that's rockedmag.com is our website, and it's all our tags. So if you go there and you sign up on the mailing list, we'll let you know when the Kickstarter starts, and you can buy the magazines online, and I'll sign it if you want me to. So I just say, keep rock alive, keep going to shows. And the tribute bands are amazing. There's some great tribute bands out there that are carrying the torch, because these bands aren't, they're going to stop playing. A lot of them already did. So, we need those tribute bands to do a good job and to keep it alive and keep it fun.
I definitely agree. Well, Mark, thank you so much again for setting aside your time and sharing your talents with us. Your participation in Rock the Rich Center has meant so much to us. And if you're ever in the area, please let us know. We would love for you to stop through Youngstown.